Hi, this is Ruby with Marketing Your Product for Profit. Welcome to the 10 computer skills every business owner should know. We're going to be covering one segment of that training, security, your computer, and beyond. We're going to explore the need for protecting your computer hardware, software, and electronic data from damage, loss, and theft. You will also learn about the various solutions and devices that you can use to protect your business, your customer, and your personal data. Threats you may not have considered, such as extreme temperature and lightning strikes. An example that you may want to consider with respect to temperatures: summer afternoon, it's about 75, 80 degrees. You hear your fan on your computer working extra hard. It may be time to put a fan not only on yourself but also on your computer, because extreme temperatures will shut your system down unexpectedly, and you'll get a message that says, "We shut your computer down because it was overheating." The next challenge are lightning strikes. One of the best protections with respect to lightning is to install uninterruptible power source. Here's a couple of things that they do. They provide battery backup in case of an outage. They prevent software damage that may be caused by your computer shutting down abruptly. And they also provide surge protection against electrical spikes and surges. You want to consider that. There are also individual UPSs that you plug directly into your electrical outlets, and you also have UPSs that are in the form of power strips or surge protectors. So there are several different price points there, but what's most important is you want to protect your computer from those spikes and surges. Now, something that a lot of business owners do not do and should is back up their system files and their business files. And really, it just involves making multiple copies of your data. Because again, whether the event is natural or human initiated, it can cause a lot of trouble if your information is not backed up. So you want to think about that. Also, another problem that I see, and a big mistake, is not making sure that your backup is working properly. And where I've seen this before is with tape backups. You think that your backups are overwriting the tape, and they're not. One other consideration is to make sure that you have an off-site copy of your backup, meaning, yes, you have it on your external drive, you have another copy of it on a tape, you might have another copy on a large jump drive. Well, it is a very good idea to make sure that you have a copy in the cloud, because you never know what's going to happen using Google Drive, using Microsoft SkyDrive, using Dropbox, or any of the other services that are out there. But the cloud gives you more computing capacity, but it also protects your sensitive files from damage. Now, there's various mindsets regarding virus protection, but here's the one that I want to make sure of, that you understand, that your virus program should be live, meaning it should always be on. It updates constantly. It updates automatically. And you want to make sure that your virus definitions are up to date. Viruses come in all forms. There was a time when people would say, well, I can't get viruses from the internet. Yes, you can. Viruses do not happen just through your email. They can happen by you visiting a website. They can happen via messages that you receive. They can happen in instant messaging. They can even happen on Facebook. So make sure that you have a virus program that is live, that it is always monitoring your system. One other thing to remember, if you are on the internet for personal use, and it would not be a hardship to reconstruct your files and your system, your applications, then okay, use a free software. Antivirus software is not very expensive, and small businesses should be paying to use pro copies. And in most cases, your pro copy also includes some other tactics that will help you protect yourself, such as a firewall. Now, have you ever wondered what the differences were between worms and Trojan horses? One point to remember is that worms and Trojans are viruses. They're just a different type of virus. And because there's so many different behaviors, they have now broken this out into several different categories. So first, we're going to discuss worms. Worms are malicious software programs that self-replicate, and they tend to penetrate your operating system by spreading malicious code, whether it's adding files, such as on your WordPress site, or attaching itself to emails that go out to your entire address book. They can also do harm by running in the background and using up system resources. They can also be executable and disconnect or disable your virus program. They can send documents. It can do a lot of things. So it is a very good idea to make sure that you are scanning for this kind of threat. The next virus is called Trojan horses. This is another type of malware, and its primary purpose is to gain access to your computer, meaning that it doesn't have the ability to replicate, but this is the malware that can really do damage to your computer. I'm talking about take out your motherboard, take out your hard drive. It can cause irreversible damage. In addition to that, depending on the application, it could be logging your keystrokes, your keyboard strokes, and conducting other actions on your computer that are not legal. Spyware. Now, spyware is common today because just about every computer that, I shouldn't say every computer, but every website that you go to keeps track of who comes and who leaves and what you do on their system. To make it easier for you, there's a little piece of code that is added, and that allows you to sign on easier. And that information is saved in your cache. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. These programs are installed without your knowledge, and spyware collects private information such as your browsing habits, downloads, and personal data like your name and address. What's important usually in spyware cases is they're looking for your browsing habits so they can figure out where you shop, how you shop, where you spend your money, those kinds of things. Now, the next area of concern are internet scams. While you might think these do not affect business, they can affect your business, especially if first you have a call center, and so you have 15 employees and you have a call center. An email comes in that looks like an invitation from another coworker. the coworker opens it, and it's not an invitation, or it's a link to to um, some foreign website. And what happens is you just open the door for the scam process to begin, and it takes various different appearances, such as wanting you to pay for something on a bogus website. So its whole purpose is to steal your money, your information, and your money. Online predators, while when you think of that, you think of children. But a good example that happened in Poughkeepsie, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. A fellow was communicating in chat rooms. He met someone in the chat room who asked if they started talking. They waited for a little while, and then they started sending him gifts. And then they were talking about, well, I live here. We have this great business, but I can't ship any of these things home to my company. So what was actually happening was this person began sending this individual in Poughkeepsie merchandise that had been purchased with a stolen credit card, and he was to mail that information to those products to another address. One, he had to pay for them. He paid for them. And two, what he ended up being was a fence for this illegal operation. So again, predators can happen at any time. It can happen in a business. For instance, they're calling and they want you to buy office supplies. You give out the company credit card because it sounded like or looks like someone that you've done business with before. So be very careful of that. A way to protect yourself from these kinds of scams, or some of those scams anyway, is to make sure that you not only have a virus program, you have a firewall. And that firewall alerts you to intrusions that are happening. And believe it or not, they're happening more than you think they are. Small businesses tend to think that no one, why would someone try to hack you? It's not a matter of the fact that you're not the government or a large business. It's the fact that they're using a scanner and they're looking for an open port and a back door to walk into. And if you don't have a firewall, they can walk in through that back door. So remember that. Now, this is also an area that small businesses tend to let go because they're busy. They don't want to take the time. It's disruptive because you're in the middle of something. You get a message that says that Microsoft needs to update, needs to restart your computer, or you need to download updates or give approval for updates. You need to stop for a minute and take the time and let your system update and finish the process, because it will cost you more time and effort afterwards if you don't do this, because one of the primary things that can happen if your updates are not current is that your virus programs, your anti-spy programs will not update because they are not seeing the most current patches on your computer. Now let's talk a little bit about email and messaging security, and using the software safely. I want you first to think about the fact that you have kids, people send you files, you are submitting proposals, you might be submitting some paper, some pictures to a client, and you're communicating back and forth. The best word of thumb here is to make sure that you do not open any email message that you do not recognize the sender, even if the subject line doesn't look quite right. Don't open the email. Better safe than sorry. If you're unsure, call the person. Say, did you just send me an email with an odd attachment to it? Be patient. If they did not, delete the email. Spam and junk mail are annoyances that can sometimes lead to spyware or other malware being installed on your system. The most important thing here is if you think that it's junk mail or spam, use your junk mail filter, add the URL and the domain to the block list. That way you begin to eliminate the amount of spam and junk mail that you have. The next area to consider is phishing. Phishing it's common, and its primary purpose is to gain access to personal information for malicious purposes. And this is where identity theft happens. This is the word of caution that I have been giving for a number of years, and I still hold to the same truths. Your bank, PayPal, eBay, anybody that you do business with that maintains a file of your personal data will not send you an email telling you that you need to click on a link to change the information or that there's a problem with your account and you need to log in. Because of technology, some of these phishing emails look they look real. They look authentic. If you are unsure, delete the email, add it to your block sender, your block receivers list, and go to your browser and log in on another browser. Maybe you always go to this website on Chrome. Maybe you need to go to the website on Internet Explorer because you haven't used it, you don't have your password saved. To make sure that everything is all right, log into the account. If there are no messages, that's a phishing expedition that you just saved yourself from. So make sure that you do not become a victim. Now, we've talked about a lot of little things that may sound like little things, but very important tactics that you can use to make sure that your computer systems are safe and protect them against malicious activity, because this data is irreplaceable. So you want to make sure that you back up your system. You want to make sure that you have a virus program. You want to make sure that you have a spyware program. You want to be on the lookout for things that just do not seem right. Now, being vigilant will eliminate expensive repairs and recovery costs. And I want you to think about implementing best practices for securing your offline, online, and network transactions. The first best practice is having long, secure passwords that include both uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and unique keyboard characters, such as the pound sign and exclamation point. You want to make sure that your password contains a combination of all of these. Spyware and hacking protection. We've talked about having a firewall. We've talked about having a virus program. I strongly recommend that you install a spyware program such as Spybot 911 or malwarebytes.org. You need to have a spyware program running all the time in the background, regardless of whatever else you have going on. Will it slow down your computer some? Yes. You don't need it to start up on, start up when your computer starts up, but you do need it there once you start surfing the web or once you start doing business on the internet. Another cause for concern, I want you to think about clearing your browsing history. Right now, in most browsers, you can clear your browsing history when you close the browser. You just need to go into the tools and make sure that you check the box. You also want to clear your cookies out every now and then. And here's an example of a good reason why you should. You using PayPal. You've gone into your PayPal account to look at some information, and you thought you logged out. Well, by golly, you're now on to another task, and you realize you forgot something. You go back to log into PayPal, and it takes you right to your accounts page. That's an indication that your browsing history and cache needs to be deleted. So that's a very good example. When we're talking about sharing personal information, I want you to think about this. There's a reason why PayPal, Google Wallet, and iPay are so popular, because you can pay for goods and services without giving out your personal information, such as your credit card or debit card number. For those people that have websites, whether you're an e-commerce site or not, if you collect personal data from your visitors, from your clients, from your followers, you need to make sure that you have an SSL certificate on your website. That encrypts communication and certifies that the website is what it says that it is. You to see the lock either at the beginning of the URL or at the end of the URL. It's very important to recognize what that means. Another point to make is the importance of disabling active content. And a good example of active content is Java. Java is an old program. It's been around for a long time. It adds interactivity to your browsing experience, but it leaves you open for attack. Here's a way to avoid even messing with your Java file. The first is using Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer. Let your browser update Java rather than you updating Java on your computer. Or Windows Update will come up with an install if your Java is out of date. So again, it's a program that you have to activate, but it is something that can cause vulnerabilities if used. And typically websites are moving away from using Java. Now, I hope that you are able to understand computer security and its importance. I want you to be able to identify threats to your computer, evaluate the tools that protect your computer and data from threats, and I want to make sure that you implement the best practices as I suggested. If you have any questions or comments after you watch the video, please be sure to post them on the Facebook page or on my YouTube channel. You can also send me a private message to Ruby at Marketing Your Product for Profit. The next video in this series that you will see is how to set up your Windows backup. Thank you for watching. Until next time.